Hey guys, Youngblood with you, and if you haven't seen yet, CIG's released the schedule for the upcoming anniversary sale, which includes daily sales that are really focused mostly on brands, which is basically like we've seen before. Now, before we get into the details, it's worth noting that anniversary packages do come with a different insurance plan that's typically available. For instance, if you were to buy a ship on the store today, it's probably going to have like 2, 3, or 6 month insurance, depending on the cost of the ship that you're purchasing. However, with anniversary sales, what they've done in the past is up to that. So in the second anniversary sale, they ended up offering 2-year insurance. In the 3-year the anniversary sale, they gave you 3-year insurance. And in the 4th-year insurance last year, they gave you 4-year insurance for the 4th anniversary sale. So with this being the 5th-year sale, I think the expectation is that the insurance this year is going to be 5-year insurance, which for most players is pretty damn close to LTI. Now, I do caution everyone that this trend is probably going to stop at some point, whether that's now and they don't say that they don't want to keep increasing the insurance length, or whether that stops whenever they decide to stop selling ships outside of the game. It's at least worth noting that I don't think this trend is going to continue forever. In fact, that I know it's not, so you need to just be aware that it may stop this year. Either way, let's say you have a ship with short-term insurance and you see it come up for sale during the anniversary sale. It's almost always a good idea to melt your ship and repurchase it for the longer insurance. Now, some caveats to that would be if you CCU'd to a ship and the price changed at some point, you only get what you put in. So, for example, if you ended up with a merchantman that a value of $250 with 6-month insurance and you wanted a new one at 5-year insurance, they're now going to sell that at a cost of $350. So if you were to melt your $250 merchantman, you're going to need to kick in that extra $100 to make up the difference to get that purchase. And in that situation, I think that's a bad idea. LTI or 5-year insurance is not worth $100. Another thing that I think we're probably going to be seeing in this sale is probably going to be things like bundle packages, which they seem to be doing with every sale at this point and every concept release, which could mean that you could pick up several ships at the same time and end up getting a discounted price, which also offers some interesting CCU options if you have that in mind. And that discount normally tends to be somewhere between like 5 and 10%. So it's not a huge difference, but if you've got plans where it makes sense, it's a good deal for you. Lastly, it's important to note that when CIG says sale, they don't really mean discount or clearance like most people typically think when they hear sale. They just mean that ships that aren't permanent additions to the store are going to be available for you to purchase at the point during the sale. So basically, don't expect a deal, just expect more options to purchase. So let's run through what's going to be happening on each of these days to give you an idea of what you should keep an eye out for. The sale kicks off on November 24th and starts off with an Anvil Sale. There's a lot of Anvil ships that are always for sale, so while you can probably pick up some with better insurance options during this day, there's going to be some that come up for sale that you cannot buy today. Think ships like the Crucible, the Carrack, the Terrapin, and the Hurricane. Also, the Super Hornet isn't always one that's for sale. The second day is going to be Aegis, which means that I expect to see ships like some of the special variants that were released, which were mostly going to be like loadout and skin-based differences, like the Saber Comet, the Avenger Renegade, and the Gladius Valiant. Also, going back to the Anvil Day, I wouldn't be surprised if we ended up seeing the Hornet Wildfire. Past that, going back to Aegis Day, I think we're probably going to see the Vanguard variants of the Sentinel and the Harbinger released, though I'm not sure you can count on seeing the Battlefield upgrade kits because they haven't been for sale basically since their concept. You'll probably see the Retaliator base and the Bomber, maybe the modules for those, we're not sure. The Eclipse is very likely, as well as the Reclaimer. Now, they recently pulled the Redeemer from the store, so it may show up again for people to purchase, but it's been in a weird place. So they may want to end up putting in more clarity on what the ship is going to be before they make it available for players to purchase again, but I'd say it's at least fairly likely to show up. Now, the ones I'm not sure we're going to be seeing included in the sale would be the Javelin and the Idris P, basically the military-grade cap ships that I think are probably about at where they want it to be in numbers in the verse. So while it did go up for sale last year in very limited numbers, I'd say that's probably unlikely to happen again. The last wild card here is the Saber Raven. Now, it's only been available at this point as a bonus for buying an Intel Optane drive, and that's very recent. So I don't see them going about and finding a way to undercut a partner like Intel and offering it for sale now. But the only way that I could see them possibly doing this would be in the way that they did with the Saber and the Omega and the Gamma with the Mustang line. So you may end up seeing a different version that comes out like the Saber Crow, which may have a different skin and very similar loadout. But again, I'm not going to hold my breath on that until we see it actually happen. The last one here that I think could make an appearance would be the Starfarer Gemini, which is really a MISC ship, but was retrofitted by Aegis for military application. Now, there's not a ton Aegis on the ship. We don't see any of that branding like we were told it was going to be there, so I'm not expecting it to be sold with the Aegis Day. I'm expecting that to show up on MISC Day. November 26th brings us ground vehicles and aliens, and here I'm expecting all of the Cyclones to be for sale, as well as the Ursa, the space bikes like the Nox and the Dragonfly, but not the special edition Q or Yellow Jacket. Probably going to see the Origin X1, as well as some of the Asperia ships like the Prowler and the Blade, and then some Banu ships like the Merchantman, the Defender, and the Cartual. Now, it's possible they do the Dragonfly and the X1 on their branded days, but I bet they're going to try and fit them in here and provide more options. Now, ones that may make an appearance would be a ship like the Glaive, which is an Asperia recreation of the ship, or the Vandal captured Scythe, but honestly, I'm not counting on either, as they've been pretty limited or kind of restricted behind challenges to this point, so I think they're going to basically be blocked off. I think it's possible that we see other new land vehicles released here, since that seems to be CIG's focus recently. So I'm probably, if there is going to be a new one, I expect to see the RSI Lynx, which is their rover that comes with the Phoenix, or maybe something else new. The 27th of November is Origin Day, which means we'll see the 350R, the M50, and the 600 series. Those are probably guarantees to show up. The X1 is probably going to be on sale for the first time either here or with the ground vehicle sale. Not sure which one, but it probably is going to be available for sale since it was really just an add-on to the 600 Exploration variant. The 890 Jump is one that I think has been a really limited ship, and it's been fairly hard to get. Price went up on it. They're trying to really restrict it, and it does go on sale from time to time in very limited batches. But it's like the Aegis cap ships that I mentioned before. It depends on how many are already owned and how that falls in line with what they want the verse to look like with the ship totals. So I'm not counting on the 890 Jump coming again, but it could make an appearance. So if you're in the market, watch for this day, as this would be the only place it really shows up. November 28th brings us Consolidated Outlands, which doesn't have a large ship list to start with, but the Mustang variants, including the Beta, Delta, and Gamma, which aren't always for sale, should be available. And since the Warbond versions of the Pioneer didn't sell out during its concept sale, I would think that we see it pop up in some very limited numbers, maybe in cash only, or maybe for store credits. We'll see what direction they want to take. That one's a little bit weird to me, though, because based on the video with their CEO, the kind of the in-lore CEO explaining the availability of, you know, the ship for the masses to be able to reach out and make space their own and basically conquer space in these planets, I found it odd that CIG decided to make this ship a limited ship anyway, since it doesn't really match the lore reason for the ship being there. You know, basically giving the everyday man the ability to go create their own colony. I think what that speaks to is CIG not knowing how they want the land plot and claiming system to work yet, so they're trying to play it close to the chest. But I think it should be a non-limited ship, at least in my view, but that's not the direction we've gotten to this point. The 29th is RSI Day, so the Aurora variants that we don't see up for sale, like the LX, the CL, or the ES, are probably going to make an appearance, maybe even at a discounted starter price, which we have seen before. As well as the Orion, the Polaris, and the Constellation Taurus, Aquila, and probably the Phoenix again, since it didn't sell out last year. And I also wouldn't be surprised if we ended up getting some updated concept art on the Phoenix during this sale. On November 30th, we have MISC Day, meaning that the Freelancer variants, including the MISC, or the MIS, will probably show up. Also, the Reliant Sen, the Tana, and the Mako, as well as the Prospector and the Orion from the mining side of things. The entire whole series will probably show up, as well as the racing version of the Razor. And then we'll probably see the Starfarer show up, as well as probably the Starfarer Gemini. I think those are likely to be on sale. Now, I think we're going to see at least the base version of the Endeavor come up at some point during the sale, hopefully including the modules and the Hope variant. I think it makes sense to sell them again. And then after that, we basically get the Drake Day on December 1st, which is the last specific brand, which should bring us the Herald, the Buccaneer, the Caterpillar, all of the Cutlass variants, which should be exciting, especially if we end up getting new looks at the red and the blue. I also would expect the base Dragonfly to be available here. And then wrapping up the sale is December 2nd through the 4th. Is basically just the overall recap, where they open up all of the sales from the day prior to everyone. Typically, this is the best place to get a ship if you missed one day earlier in the week, which is likely to happen. But it's worth noting that if a ship was considered limited and sold out in those prior days, it generally doesn't show up here at this point. So you just kind of need to know. If you're targeting a ship that's been limited in the past, you may want to pay close attention on that branded day. So that's basically it. If you have questions about any of this, please let me know. Otherwise, when we get to the sales, if there's anything special that deems my need to cover it, I will absolutely do so. Otherwise, stay tuned for more. I'm getting a lot of 3.0 testing done, so I can be ready to hit you with some great content once we hit the wider PTU phase and the NDA drops. Otherwise, have yourselves a wonderful day, and take care.